Hi guys, my name is En1gma, I play for Team Entropiq, and today I've prepared a deck guide for you. The deck we're going to be taking a look at is perhaps one of the strongest decks in the metagame, and that is Soul Demon Hunter. Now, the gameplay of the deck is fairly simple. You play a lot of early minions such as Spirit Jailer, Mana Feeder Pantara, or Wandmaker to build up an early board presence, and then you burst your opponent with cards like Marrow Slicer, or you can even use Eldrazi Warblades and boost up your attack with Twin Slice and cards like Lapidary, and you can heal and deal tons of damages to your opponent's face and burst them down this way. Now, the reason this deck works is because of a few very key cards. The one mainly I'm talking about is Twin Slice and Blade Dance, because together you can clear a lot of big boards and push a lot of damage for relatively very little mana. Also, you've got a lot of cycle cards, which are cards that draw you another card, such as Chaos Strike, another card that just pushes a lot of damage. In some cases, if you play Consume Magic, that can also draw you a card. Doesn't even need to silence anything. And most importantly, you play the big card draw card, Skull of Gul'dan. Now, the deck also has a really strong synergy with Soul Fragments. The Soul Fragment cards are Spirit Jailer, Soul Shear, Marrow Slicer, Sociologist Militia, Soul Shard Lapidary, and Shard Shedder Mystic. Now, these cards work together insanely well because even just drawing your fragments can a lot of time be very crucial, because if you're pushing a lot of damage to their face and not clear their board, they usually can kill you before you kill them, so getting extra heal is always useful. But more importantly, what you can do is you can play cards like Lapidary, which buff your hero's attack, which allow you to push ridiculous amounts of damage per turn. So generally in the Mulligan, the cards you want to always keep are the early minions, such as Spirit Jailer, Mana Feeder Pantara, and Wandmaker. Now, the reason you keep these cards, and honestly the deck becomes a lot more powerful if you get these cards, because it just allows you to push some damage early with their minions and makes the game very awkward for your opponent. Also, cards like Pantara are great because they just cycle through your deck, and a card like Wandmaker is insane because Demon Hunter has very little 1 mana cost spells, and all of them are pretty much amazing. The only bad one being is Philosophy, but honestly, if you just get it once, it can also just copy your Spirit Jailer, so it isn't that terrible. And the potential high roll with Twin Slice, or even like cards like Double Jump that draws you immediately or Skull, are just insane. Now, some situational cards that you want to draw only in certain matchups are Marrow Slicer and Eldrazi Warblades. I like to keep all of these weapons in the Demon Hunter mirror. Sometimes I like to keep Marrow Slicer against very control-ish matchups, such as against Priest, or even Warrior. I had to keep Eldrazi Warblades and Marrow Slicer against Warrior because they're just super insane cards. Skull of Gul'dan you usually want to keep against control decks again. You generally want to be careful about where you're keeping it, so if you have your Skull at the very right of your hand and you've got another 3 cards to the left that you're going to be mulliganing away, there is that risk that you most likely won't play it turn 6. So watch out for that, because you can draw cards like maybe even Adept or Sociologist Militia, which will basically lock your Skull, meaning it won't be played for a long time. Against aggressive opponents such as Hunters, maybe even Mages or Rogues, you can keep Shard Shedder Mystic, because it's such an insane card, generates a lot of tempo and deals with all their early board pressure. Also, you can keep Soul Shear, another really good card. So yeah, basically just keep these cards against aggro. You can also keep Blade Dance, because Blade Dance is a really crucial clear in the early game against aggro, so these are the cards that you generally want to keep against aggro and nothing else. Then maybe we can get into some specific matchups. Consume Magic you want to keep against Paladins, maybe even against Rogues, because against Paladins it gets rid of their Librum, which is absolutely insane, and that's why I'm playing this card. Also because of Rogues, getting rid of their Edwin or Questing Adventurer is really amazing, because Demon Hunter specifically has trouble dealing with big minions early on. Acidic Swamp Ooze, a card you want to keep in the mirror or against warriors. Just a really great card because it generates a lot of tempo for you. But most importantly, if you get rid of opponent's range caliber, they cannot play cards like Cutting Class, and in general just stops them from shuffling bombs into your deck. And in the mirror, if you get rid of opponent's Eldrazi Warblades, it stops their healing and can pretty much win you the game. So now let's get to the tech cards. Tech cards are cards that make certain matchups way better. For example, in this case that we already talked about, is Consume Magic makes your Paladin and Rogue matchup way better. Acidic Swamp Ooze, also a tech card, and maybe even Horde Pillager, because that card usually, if you don't draw a weapon, is just atrocious, because 4 mana 4/2 is really bad, but if it can come back, or if it can return your Marrow Slicer or your Eldrazi Warblades, it can be absolutely insane. So another tech card you can play that I've seen people run is Spectral Sight. This card is also very good in case you want to draw more cards. I don't really like playing this card because it doesn't generate a lot of tempo, but it's a definitely card you can run in the deck. I've seen a lot of people do well with it. Also another great card that you could play, and I've seen even some Grandmasters playing it, is Penflinger. Now generally if you play Penflinger you want to cut the one adept you have, and Penflinger really just acts like another damage dealer card. You can basically return it a lot of times with this deck, because this deck runs cards like Twin Slice, which make it possible for you to deal loads of damage with it. Also, if you play the Penflingers in your deck, you could just play 2 Penflingers and then also put an Altruist. I've also seen this version being played. Not something I like that much though, because Altruist doesn't really help you in that many matchups. Because usually once you get the Altruist you could just be doing other stuff, and it's only pretty much good against like Priest, or I don't know, mostly just against Priest and some other control decks, but I don't really see it. Now if you don't have some legendaries from this deck like Sociologist Militia or Kane Sunfury, I have some bad news for you, because these legendaries are pretty important for the deck. But if you look at the overall deck cost, it's not really that expensive of a deck. So definitely, if you have the Dust, craft Kane, craft Sociologist Militia, because these cards are going to be here for a long time. And I believe they're going to be core in pretty much every single one of the Soul Hunter decks. Another card I've also seen people run is Polkelt. Let me find it here. Polkelt is also a good card against classes like Priest, because it puts your Sociologist Militia at the very top of the deck, and then you've got your Skull of Gul'dan, Lapidaries, Adepts, Marrow Slicers on the top. What you need to remember while playing Polkelt is that if you play cards that shuffle fragments into your deck, and that is any card that shuffles fragments, your deck will get completely reshuffled. So once you shuffle fragments, the Polkelt effect will be gone, and the cards will be in random order. Now, I don't really recommend playing Polkelt on ladder, and that is because on ladder there are decent amounts of bomb warriors. So what happens is you play Polkelt, they play their range caliber, attack, shuffle the bomb into your deck, and then your whole deck gets completely reshuffled. So definitely not a great card if you want to play it on ladder, but in the tourneys it can be pretty good if you want to counter Priest specifically. Now let's get right into the matchups. So the matchups for this deck, let's let's have a look at first the Soul Demon Hunter mirror. In the mirror, a lot of the crucial cards are Entropiq Warblades. If you want to make the matchup better, put in an ooze. You can even play the 3 mana for 3 freeze. But that's only if you're facing a lot of Demon Hunters, so I wouldn't really play it in your deck since it makes all of your matchups a lot worse. The Druid matchups. Now, Druid has been nerfed fairly recently, so that's kind of the main reason why this deck has become so popular and so good, is because usually Druid was your 1 weak matchup. But now with the Druid nerf, this deck pretty much has no bad matchups. So Druid, the stats say is 45%, but these are the stats before the nerfs, I believe, as well. So right now, I'd say you have about 55%, but again, not many people are playing Druid because it's just not as good as it was before. Hunter matchup, the most common deck you're going to be probably facing on ladder is Hunter, the Face Hunter deck. Now against Face Hunter, you need to keep, or what you're looking for is Sharpshooter Mystic, the Entropiq Warblades to heal you, and in general just ways to deal with their board. Because the way Face Hunter wins against you is that they just completely run you over with the board, which isn't a possibility if you just destroy their board with Mystic. So definitely try looking for these cards in the matchup. And yeah, in general, it's a good matchup. You've got loads of healing, so definitely a nice one. Mage. So most popular mage deck is Tempo Mage, and this deck is absolutely amazing against Tempo Mage, just because you can clear a lot of their early minions, and Mage has basically no healing whatsoever, right? So unless they randomly generate Ice Barrier, which is just random stuff, you just usually smork them down. But of course it's Mage, so they can high roll you with Giants or something like that, and you just don't have the Blade Downs to deal with them, and you just lose. Specific cards against Mage that you'd want are probably the same as with any other deck. Just keep the minions. I'd even keep Blade Dance in this matchup, even though it's not as it might not seem as good. But if you get Marrow Slicer with it together as well, or just Wind Slice, you can clear the early Shinvala board or the big Giants or something like that. So I'd keep Blade Dance if you're going second, but of course be careful. And I recommend looking at the stats. The Paladin matchup. Now the Paladin matchup might seem like the only bad matchup, but I don't even think it's as bad as the stats say. Stats say it's 40%, but if you play the Consume Magic Silence, I think you're completely fine. Just silencing their Libram and clearing their boards should be enough, but you know, sometimes they just have loads of healing. Sometimes the Broom Paladin even plays cards like the 2-mana Lifesteal, which will just heal them, Lightforged Blessing, which will just heal them for loads of health, so you can't really do anything about that. Yeah, that's like the only matchup that you could be scared of. The Priest matchup, I also wouldn't say this matchup is that bad, but yeah, it says that Galakron Priest, you are favored against them 62%. I wouldn't think it's that high. If the Priest player is a really good player, Priest can do a lot of awful stuff really early on, so I'd say you're favored about 55% of the time. Cards you want to keep against Priest, Marrow Slicer, and all the minions, like I said before. Rogue matchup is very similar to the Mage, but you want to keep Sharpshooter Mystic for their lackeys, for their stealth minions, and you maybe even want to keep, just the early minions as well. But the Rogue is very similar to the Mage in a sense that they don't have any healing, so all the damage you deal to the face really matters, so try not trading as much as you'd want to. And then let's have a look at the Shaman matchups. So Shaman doesn't really have a good deck right now. You won't face it on ladder pretty much like ever. So the only deck you might face is Control Shaman, and that is in tourneys. Control Shaman has a lot of healing, so that matchup isn't that good, but a lot of the times you can just kill them if you have enough burn. It isn't a great matchup, but it's just Shaman, so nothing to be afraid of. Then we've got the Warlock. So Warlock has only one good deck right now, and it is Zoo Warlock, which you beat fairly easily because all they do is they just flood the board. So if you get a good Mystic or Blade Dance, you can just clear their board, go face, and they have no healing either, so you can kill them very easily through that. And then the last matchups are from Warrior. Now against Classic Bomb Warrior, the matchup is not as bad as you might think. I actually think you're pretty favored because Bomb Warrior doesn't have that much healing. It has only like Shield Blocks, Quartermasters, and then Galakrond, but I wouldn't really consider that healing. So a lot of the times you can just beat them with your weapons and heal loads of health with Eldrazi Warblades. And then there's the Skipper Bomb Warrior matchup, which is very similar to the Bomb Warrior matchup. Only difference being that Skipper Bomb Warrior has more healing with the Skipper Armorsmith combo. Other than that, the matchup is fairly similar. Usually you can just kill them through big weapons and heal a lot. So yeah, that's it for the matchups. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this guide, hit the subscribe button and see you next time.